Japanese fluently. Actually lived there for a couple of years, on and off, and he translates frequently, interprets rather, for bands or for like the composer for Final Fantasy, Nobuo Uematsu. He's his preferred composer, translator when he comes over to the States. We met together at a convention in Kansas City, Missouri, and we were like, oh, how you doing? How you doing? And we turned out we both lived in Texas. We're like, oh, well, let's change numbers. And it was one of those things where we were just friends for the longest time, and then he moved away to Japan for work, and we just kept in touch. And while he was in Japan, we were like, I miss you too. No, like, I really miss you. Well, I really miss you. I really miss you. I'll tell this, actually, this is a good way to end the panel. I'm going to tell this cute little, really gay story. And when I say gay, I mean it's a really gay story. So Brandon and I met like about 7 years ago, and we've been together as a couple now for a little over 3 years. And so we were friends for a long time, and when he moved to Japan, it was a really rough time for him because moving to a foreign country, to work, it can be really rough. He had a great experience, but, he didn't have a lot of time to go out and meet friends, and so he felt very lonely. And we would talk a lot, or I would kind of stalk him on Facebook and leave him messages and stuff. And I thought, wouldn't that be great if I taught myself Japanese? So I would try to leave little kanji notes on his Facebook page, and I can speak just enough Japanese to like find a bathroom in Tokyo, or to say hello. I don't speak Japanese, and that's it. But Brandon's very, very fluent, so he knows when I've got something terribly, terribly wrong. And the reason, like, we've known each other for years, and there were feelings there. No, we can't possibly. Stupid. And so while he was there, he had taken this beautiful, lonely little picture of the first sakura blossom outside of his window. And there was something about the picture that I'm like, oh, he's so alone. There's no one over there. He's married to the corporation. He's got nothing. Oh, God, come home, Brandon, come home. And I just thought, well, I'm going to write something really fun and clever. Just kind of, hey, still, whatever. And I wrote what I thought, because I ran it through Google Translate. What I thought I was saying was I said something in English, like, oh, that's beautiful. I can't wait to come to Japan sometime, and you can show me the sights or whatever. And then I put a PS in kanji. What I thought I was saying was, by the way, I miss you, or by the way, you are missed. And what I actually said was, and now I let you go. Damn you, Japanese! Which freaked him out. He was like, what the hell? Because he was also good. He was sick at the time. He got this horrible case of the flu. And work was going horribly bad. And he hated, there was all sort of drama going on in his personal life in Japan. He was at the lowest point of his time there. And suddenly I'm like, hey, I love the sakura blossom, and now goodbye. And he just goes, what do you mean? And it started this whole conversation. We're like, no, that's not what I meant. But because of that little slip up, thank you, Google Translate, because it made us go, why do you care so much? I just thought that, there are feelings here. And so that's what. And then a quick after that, 2 years later, we were at a con together as a couple, and because he speaks Japanese so profoundly, he will go in and start conversations with the Japanese guests. Now, those of you who have seen Japanese guests at a con, they tend to be very reserved. One, they don't speak English sometimes, and the Japanese people tend to be, rather respectful of space. They won't come up to you like an American, like, hey, how's it going? They'll wait to be spoken to. And they have a team of interpreters, but the interpreter's job is to be available for conversation, not to start one for them. So they just kind of keep to themselves in the green room where all the actors are, while all the Americans are over there going, blah, 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 blah. And the Japanese are kind of over to themselves, kind of looking at us and wishing they were asleep. And because they're probably terribly jet lagged. Well, Brandon would come over and be like, what's that, whatever. And they just light up because here's an American that speaks their language beautifully. And so they start talking. And eventually he points to me, like, hey, come over. There's several people. It was the voice actor Vegeta, and it was the Italia's creator was the guy that made Laura Spice and Wolf. All these really serious Japanese guests were there. And I just went over there and I'm like, hi. And I had just learned earlier in the day that there was a super, super cool, hip, bro way of saying thank you. Now, normally in Japanese, you would say it very formally. To someone you just met, if you said thank you, you would say arigato gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu. You hear it all the time in anime. That's a very formal way to say thank you to someone who's older or who's a boss or just different social level than you. You would never just say arigato unless you were equals, right? Well, there's a super more familiar way of saying it, which you just take the first and last sound of arigato gozaimasu, gut everything, and just slap those two things together so that arigato gozaimasu becomes azas. Super neat sounding, right? So that was my thing all weekend. I'd be like, azas, azas, azas. I go over to the Japanese guest who Brandon's been talking to now for the better part of half an hour. And he's like, baby, use your Japanese. So I say in my best, most formal, polite Japanese that I can muster. Watashi wa nobu wa少しわかります。まだ上手じゃありません. Which means I have a little bit of Japanese, but I'm not very good at it. It's a very formal way of being like, I'm sorry for being American, be patient with me. And one of them turned to me and in very good English said, wow, you sound really good. And I'm like, what's up? Which then they all just kind of went, and it just goes. And it was explained to me later that doing that is because we don't really have an equivalent in English. The equivalent would be like, it means nothing. The equivalent, like in formality versus super familiar and the same, would be like saying like, now is the winter of our discontentment, glorious summer by the summer hill, with all the clouds which lowered upon our house in the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Bitches! But building bridges everywhere I go for the rest of the weekend, every time I saw one of the Japanese guests, they'd be like, hey, Michael! Thank you guys so much for coming. You're awesome. There's a photo up today. I think it's at 4 or 5. I don't know. It's at 5. It's at 5 o'clock. So if you want to get a picture with me, show up to the photo up. And VIPs, I do have a VIP.